turn over to another exciting part of our board meeting, Academic Senate.
So the semester is just getting started, but it's going to be a big semester. At the last meeting, I mentioned about this will be my last semester. My successor is Caroline Dawson. She's in the audience. She wants to wave. She's also a mathematics professor, so she'll be the one doing this starting July 1st. But this semester we'll be doing our technical visit with the State Academic Senate on February 6th to help us with minimum quals and equivalency. So we'll have 2 members of the Exec Committee of State Senate coming to help us with that. We'll be working on Administrative Procedure 7214 along with HR stuff. That's the one about faculty hiring. One of the things that Kelly Fowler has talked about potentially looking at is how we look at the faculty hiring prioritization process, making revisions to that. We'll be doing at least one program investigation. What is a program investigation? That's where we look at the viability of a program. We determine, do we keep the program as is, make modifications, or eliminate the program. The one that we have so far going will be on auto body or automotive, so not the whole program, but just a little portion of it. We'll be doing that. And April is Part-Time Faculty Appreciation Month, as most of you know. Usually we do that in May because that's when the meeting's here. But now that we'll be having the April meeting here, hopefully we can have it here at that time. And I'll be working with the Los Banos faculty to try to get their part-time faculty of the month ready to go for next meeting so you can meet them. Those are the major things that I can think of that we'll be working on this year.
Well, thank you very much for that. Next we have Merced College Faculty Association. No report this time. Okay. Then we have Classified Senate. Okay, no report. CSEA. No report. Management Association. No report. ASMC. Okay, no report. Julie, you're a superstar tonight. Look at that. Okay, now we are on agenda item 9, consent agenda. So at this time we're agenda item A, approval of the consent agenda. What is the pleasure of this board?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion by Trustee Pedrosa, second by Trustee Upton. Any questions or comments on this item? Any questions or comments by members of the public? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Trustee Lemus, how do you vote? Aye. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda, agenda item 10A, 2019-2020 sabbatical request.
Yes, it's recommended that you approve the sabbatical request for Joanne Piscaresi for academic year 2019-20. And as background, this goes through faculty sabbatical committee and the appropriate vice president. And since this was instruction, I went through VP Fowler, and all have signed off on it, and I'm recommending approval to the board.
Okay, this is an action item. Any questions or what is the pleasure of the board on this item?
I move to approve. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Trustee Ochoa, second by Trustee Gutierrez. Any questions or comments by members of the board? Any questions or comments by members of the audience? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Trustee Lemus, how do you vote? Aye. Thank you. Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next on the agenda is agenda item B. This is the second reading for approval of Board Policy 5410. What is the pleasure of this board?
Move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by trustee Gutierrez and a second by trustee Pedrosa. Any questions or comments on this agenda item?
Madam President?
Yes, trustee Lemus?
If my memory serves, it was recalled to where before we could even, or for my opinion, to delete. Because for us, ASMC hasn't even had a chance to meet to discuss this as a whole since we've been off season. So I would say to continue with the second reading, but as for the approval, postpone it to the February meeting, so I can ask, because this affects the upcoming election, because I don't see why for senators it requires a 2.0 versus executives a 2.5. It kind of seems like there's like more people now go to senators versus executives. It seems kind of off-putting. But the unit thing, I kind of, after talking with my colleagues, kind of made more sense. But the unit thing, I still would want to talk to my board about it in general, like with the whole council.
Okay, so it was my...
Yeah, I can respond to it if that's okay. I think at the last meeting, trustee Lemus, you asked us to confirm if it had been reviewed through ASMC. And so your role as a student trustee is to ask that question, which is a great question. It's actually student government's board. So it's Julius as the president of student government. That's his board. And I did ask Vice President McCandless to confirm. And Julius sent an email and said that it had been vetted and that, I don't want to misspeak, that basically he was in agreement with this. But I talked to Dr. McCandless. Will you just recap the different processes that this followed for participatory governance? So Trustee Lemus is aware that it did get ASMC approval, or I guess at least their input.
Sure. So this one has actually been through the appropriate processes multiple times and received revisions. It started last year at about this time through ASMC, went to SSMPC, College Council, then went back to ASMC again. The second version came through at the end of the spring semester, was in ASMC at the beginning of the fall semester, then went to SSMPC, then to College Council again. And that's the version that we currently have.
Thank you. So hopefully that makes you feel better. It did go to ASMC multiple times and the student body president. I actually saw the email, said that everything looked good in an email just last week. I think that you do have consensus, at least as far as input goes from ASMC. You may not have been in those meetings, but they have been reviewed. So it is board's policy. That's why we do the first reading, in case there are things that need to happen, and you asked a great question, and that's our feedback from the board.
Okay, and so Trustee Lewis, there's a representation that ASMC has reviewed it and has approved it. So with that, do you feel any differently?
I guess my only concern is the fact that, because looking through the emails and past, like, for my emails, it kind of seems that as the student trustee was kind of out of the loop, since I only not wear only one hat, but two, kind of, since I have a voting power on the board. But having what you guys also kind of does give me more reassurance if ASMC has been added and inputted wise, then I would be, I guess, in favor to pass it. Minus the unit thing is so bugsy internally, but yeah.
I understand, you know, things aren't always perfect, but I certainly feel more comfortable knowing that ASMC looked at it and that Julius recalls working through it. So any further comments from members of the board on this issue?
As of now, no. So there goes my board's input.
No, and that's exactly what this time is for. Any other board members wish to address this issue?
I do have a comment. I speak in favor of the motion, and I appreciate Trustee Lemus's input. But to me, it sounds like it was vetted properly, and you know, I think that you know, what needed to be done was done. So I speak in favor of the motion.
Any further questions or comments? Any questions or comments from members of the audience on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Trustee Lemus, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next is agenda item C, acceptance of the independent auditor's report for fiscal year ending June 30, 2018. What is the pleasure of this board? We have a motion. Oh, yes, Trustee Upton?
I move that we accept the auditor's report for fiscal year ending June 30.
Okay, we have a motion by Trustee Upton to accept the independent auditor's report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018. Is there a second on this motion?
I second.
Okay, we have a second by Trustee Mendoza. Any questions or comments on this item from members of the board? Okay, seeing none, any questions or comments by members of the audience? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Trustee Levis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, motion carries unanimously. Agenda item D, management job description change. President Vitelli.
Yeah, this is a change due to the Chancellor's Office recommended job description language. The position titles changed when they made the changes to the sector navigator positions versus the old economic and workforce development initiative. So it's recommended you approve the position title change and job description, excuse me.
Okay, thank you, and this is an action item, so what is the pleasure of this board?
Move to approve.
Okay, motion by Trustee Pedrosa,
Second.
second by Trustee Ochoa. Any questions or comments on, or discussion on this item by members of the board? Oh, yes, Trustee Chappelle?
So what do we call this training place? The riddle? The riddle? The acronym is so long.
Yeah, no, this is this wasn't our acronym. This is the one
a-
that Chancellor's Office came up with. So when they did the about 5 years ago, we used to have the Workplace Learning Resource Center, and that was an EWD, Economic and Workforce Development Initiative. Then they changed all the sectors, and then they started calling them sector navigators. And the sector is retail, hospitality, and tourism. And so this is aligning with their recommended job description. So sure, riddle kind of sticks. I like it.
All right.
All right. Any other comments? Thanks. Any questions or comments by members of the public? Okay, seeing none, call for the vote. Trustee Lemus, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, motion carries unanimously. So now you know, President Vitelli, before you approve any acronyms, you gotta run them by Trustee Chappelle first.
Understood.
Make sure it's not riddle or anything terrible.
Understood.
Okay, next is agenda item E, appointment of interim dean of instruction, English and humanities. President Vitelli.
Yes, it's my pleasure to recommend to the board and for the audience, the new law as of January 1st, 2017 is that executive level appointments have to be voted on separately by the board. You may be used to seeing these on consent agenda items, but that's why this is being read out loud. But it's recommended the board approve the temporary appointment of Dr. Candace Taylor to the position of Interim Dean of Instruction, English and Humanities at Range A, Step 1, which is $105,390 plus a doctoral stipend. Sorry, Dr. Taylor, I'm having to say that out loud, but that's also the law. And effective January 7th until June 30th or until a permanent replacement has been named. And Dr. Taylor is here tonight, so thank you for being here. And thank you for your willingness to step into this interim role.
Well, thank you for that. This is an action item, so what is the pleasure of this board?
So moved.
Okay, all right, so I'll go with ladies first. We have a motion by Trustee Chappelle and a second by Trustee Pedrosa. Any questions or comments by members of the board?
She needs to stand up so we can see her.
All right, Dr. Taylor.
There you are.
All right, anything further? Okay, seeing none. Any questions or comments by members of the public? All All right, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Trustee Lemus, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. And yeah, it's a pretty good salary. I wouldn't be, shy about that. I'd be Facebooking that. Look at me.
Until you calculate the hourly rate.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're gonna get a lot of hours.
So maybe she'd like to oppose the side of that girl. No. It's too late. Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Dr. Taylor, and thank you. Next agenda item F, request to award RFQ 2018-13 real estate brokerage and marketing services. And so this is an action item, so VP Allison.
Yes, thank you. This is an item that we brought to the board back in November of 2018. Just brief background, in June of 2018, we had our Mid-Pines property appraised at a value of $385,000. And when that was brought to the board, there were some concerns about why the value had dropped from the previous appraisal that was done in 2012, which was appraised at $510,000, and why it dropped to $385,000. And so, excuse me, there was a request to solicit a broker's price opinion of value, and so we went out and did that, and the value came back at $397,000. In addition to that, we took it a step further and did have the property reappraised again, and the appraisal value was $425,000. And so, bringing the item back to the board this evening to recommend that we award our RFQ for brokerage services to Twist Realty, and also approve the revision to the resolution that the property will have a minimum bid of $425,000, no less than $425,000.
So thank you for that. And if the board feels confident in what the motion would be, including the revision, I would be open to a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Trustee Upton and a second by Trustee Ochoa. Any questions or comments on this item from members of the board? Trustee Gutierrez?
When I was looking through this, I'm thinking, why don't we just, why don't we just keep it for our board retreat? There's a little midnight now. I mean, no, but seriously, it's still, for the amount of acreage, it still seems kind of low, but if that's what the going rate, then that's what the going rate is.
Would you like to buy it, Trustee Gutierrez? They will make an offer soon.
Okay. Wait 3 weeks. That'd be a conflict of interest.
It's easy. It's easy. For the record, that's not.
Anyway.
Trustee, yes.
What is the acreage?
It's slightly over 153 acres.
Any further questions or comments?
I do have
Trustee
a
Ochoa?
comment and a question, President Ramirez. First of all, thank you very much, Joe, for continuing the work on this property that is owned by the district. And with the evidence presented, which is the full-blown appraisal on the property, and also the broker's price opinion, after reviewing those opinions of value, everything makes sense. Everything fell in line with what was stated, fell in line with the market. The market up in Mariposa is a lot different than it is here, so the reason why the price sounds lower than what the average person would expect is because the highest and best use of the property is currently recreational. You're not able to develop it. The zoning has changed somewhat over the years as per the report. So thank you very much for pursuing that back from November. But my question is the resolution that doesn't address the occupant of the property. It doesn't, tenants have their rights. So in a real estate contract, those issues have to be addressed as part of the purchase contract. So can you elaborate a little bit on what the plan is with the tenant? Because the house is, the single-family home on the property is rented, correct?
Correct,
Yeah.
yes. And so we do have a lease agreement with the tenant. He has been made aware of our intent to sell the property. Chuck, do you recall when the lease expires, the current tenant?
I believe this time it's month to month. We met with Mr. Gowdy. He is ready to move as soon as we give him notice. There's no problem there whatsoever.
Yeah, we don't anticipate any problems. We've been making him aware of our intent back in early last year of our intent to sell the property. And so we've been keeping him apprised of what was going on and where we are with the status of the process.
So in the resolution, it doesn't need to be addressed. That's not something you would address in the resolution?
No, it does not. And we've also consulted with our legal counsel in drafting the resolution. And so it does not need to be included in there in any discussion regarding the existing tenant.
Okay, thank you.
I have
Yes, trustee Wiggins?
one more thing that I wanted to mention too, but is, and this may not be the meeting for it, but once the sale is done, I know that the property was donated to the college. Do we have any idea what we would do with proceeds, and would we, how are we using it? Does that donor get some kind of recognition?
Yeah, I think we'd bring a recommendation to the board on what to do with the proceeds, because we want to honor the donation in some way. And we've had some preliminary discussions, but we would like to engage the foundation and then see what the sale of the property is for, and bring a recommendation to the board on how to allocate those dollars. Some ideas may be naming a new student plaza after them, putting it into one of the facilities projects as it relates to the donor's interest. But we will we'll further explore that, and we will bring it to the board before we make a formal decision on that for approval.
Can I suggest we name the soccer team after him?
Soccer team. Yeah, sure. We'll find out if they were avid soccer players. Yeah.
All right, any further questions or comments from members of the board? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Trustee Lemus, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next is agenda item 11A, which is to the board for information. 2019 CCCT Board Elections and Nominations. President Vitale?
Again, this is for information. Most likely the last board meeting you would have, at the next board meeting you'll have to take action if you want to make a nomination